So we're going to take a look at the Ciri fighter from the Unmatched games. Now, Ciri is, of course, the helpful digital assistant that... Wait, what? Oh, it's the wrong Ciri. We're looking at this Ciri from The Witcher. This one being from the set The Witcher Steel and Silver, which has Geralt of Rivia, Ciri, and the Ancient Lushan. So Ciri is the kind of child prodigy of sorts that comes up through the Witcher series. She is quite the fighter. She can do a lot of magic and magical stuff that she can do through the source, which is like one of the places that magic can come from in the Witcher universe. So we'll see that Ciri is a melee fighter with a health of 15 and a move of 2. Her sidekick is Ihuarraquax. I'm just going to call it the murder corn. Why am I going to call it the murder corn? Where you're like, oh, look, it's a unicorn. Oh, that's so nice. No, this is not a nice unicorn. This unicorn is after blood. I mean, look at that. This is not the friendly, fluffy rainbow unicorn that your 8-year-old daughter has on a poster on her wall. This thing it's had the taste of human blood, and that's what it wants now. I don't know if that's true, but that unicorn is after stuff. So, murder corn. And Ciri's special ability is Uncontainable Power, which is 7 in a bubble. Effects on Ciri's cards cannot be canceled. What the heck does that mean? Okay, this is going to be one of my few little nitpicks that I ever really go into on my videos here on Unmatched. I really like it when the ability can be explained on the card and not have to pull out a rule book. But this one, there's no way to know what on earth this means without going into the set rules, which is just it's just a little annoying. We have Ciri here with her source, a lot of her cards. We will see we'll have this source logo here on the name banner. Her source cards generally have 2 effects on them, which will have 2 different numbers. These numbers reference the number of source cards that you have in your discard pile. So that is the way it would go there. You would have this one. In this case, you'd have an effect for 4, an effect if you had 9 cards in there. You do the higher one of the 2. You don't do both. If you have the higher one, you resolve the higher one and not the lower one. If you don't have even the lower one, then you are playing it with no effect. What this means on her special ability is once she gets 7 source cards in her discard pile, effects on her cards cannot be canceled. So they can't be canceled anymore after that. That is a really great effect. It does take a little bit of time to get built up to that. So we're going to go ahead and go through Ciri's deck. We're going to go ahead and go through all of these source cards to start with. So I just counted through this, and she has 13 cards that have the source on the banner. So she has a total of 13 source cards, which is going to be not quite half the deck, since the deck is 30 cards. We're going to start off with the scheme. Child of the Elder Blood. With 4 source, deal 1 damage to each other fighter in Ciri's zone. With 9 source, deal 3 damage to each other fighter in Ciri's zone. Now notice that this is each other fighter, so that will include friendly fighters, so that would include your friendly murder corn. So be aware of that. And once again, if you have 9, you're doing just the 9. You're not doing both effects. It would be just the top one that you would do there once you get 9 or more. It's not exactly that number. It's if you have at least that many. Cereal. Cereal. I guess that's cereal. I don't know. This is a versatile of 2 during combat. If you have three source, this card's value is 4 instead. 5 source, this card's value is 4 instead, and your opponent discards 1 random card. Lion Cub of Sintra, an attack of 2. During combat, 1 source, this card's value is 4 instead. 5, this card's value is 7 instead. So this gets to be a much stronger card as she goes on through the game, which is true with all of them, but this ends up being just literally a stronger attack as the game goes on. The Lady of Space and Time, a versatile of 2. After combat, 3 source, return a card from your discard pile to the top of your deck. 8 source, return a card from your discard pile to your hand, draw a card. You also notice that with this being 8 source on here, that effect will always be uncancelable because of her effect with the 7 source. Push to the Brink, a versatile of 3. After combat, 2 source, deal 1 damage to the opposing fighter. 7 source, deal 2 damage to an opposing fighter within 3 spaces of Ciri. So the difference on here is that this one just deals damage to the opposing fighter. This one will do 2 damage to an opposing fighter within 3 spaces of her. So just someone around her can get that 2 damage. And once again, with that being a 7, that will always be an uncancelable effect on that card. Going into her non-source cards now. Channel the Source, an attack of 2. During combat, you may discard any number of source cards from your hand. Add 2 to this card's value for each source card you discarded. So this is like a low value Forever Hide here, starting off pretty low, but adding 2 for every one of the source cards you're able to add to it. That's boosting this value up, which, if you manage to have 3 or so source cards in there, you could bring this up to something really big and make this a really big hit. Additionally, as you are discarding those cards, you are bringing the number of the source cards in your discard pile up, which helps for all of these effects and for your ability. So this is definitely something earlier that you'd want to play to be able to get some of these source cards in there. Unicorn Ally. This is an any card, although I don't know that it really matters. Ciri recovers 2 health. The ongoing effect, which the ongoing effects are the new effects for this set. You would sit this card in front of you when you play it and not discard it until this situation is met there. The ongoing effect, after each combat your fighter is in, draw 1 card. Discard this card at the end of your turn if you have 5 or more cards in your hand. So as long as you keep kind of actively playing, you can keep drawing a card after every combat. After a combat also means after being attacked. This effect here has to be at the end of your hand. So if you have more than 5 cards, so if you have 5 or more cards in hand at some other point, you still have a chance to get down. It does not discard as soon as you have 5 or more cards, but at the end of your turn if you have 5 or more cards. Blink, versatile of 4. After combat, move Ciri up to 3 spaces. She may move through opposing fighters. So this is just like a really good skirmish here. You don't get to move the opposing fighter, but you can move Ciri, and she can move through fighters, so she doesn't end up trapped. Parry, and any 3-value defense. Immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card. So this is essentially just your imagination. It is the same value and effect. That's going to be her cancel. So this means that her cancel is defensive only. It is a stronger cancel, but only available on defense. And as we get into Ihuarraquax here, Searching Strike, a 3-value versatile. After combat, if you won the combat, you may search your deck for a source card, reveal it, and add it to your hand. This lets you pull a specific source card that you want out of your deck and just stick it into your hand, which is very useful. And lastly, Bane of the Anel. An attack of 4 after combat. Move Ihuarraquax up to 4 spaces. He may move through opposing fighters, then deal 1 damage to an opposing fighter he moved through. So this is kind of like a not quite as good Stallion Charge there. He'll just deal 1 damage to 1 specific opposing fighter and not to all of the opposing fighters. So what do we have to say about Ciri? Well, she's obviously going to be someone that's going to get stronger as she goes on, as she starts putting source cards into her discard pile. So all of the cards that have the source effects on them are the actual source cards. So that means unless you put some source cards in your discard pile with Channel the Source, you're going to end up playing one of these with no effects on it. So you're either going to have to play some of these cards without effects on them, or just straight up discard some with Channel the Source to be able to get to the point that you can start using these effects on there. So that gives you a little bit of a decision on what you want to do. A lot of times deck order is going to come into play on that as much as anything else. I think Ciri is definitely someone that the opponent wants to try to run down right away because they don't want her to be able to get these high numbers on there. And so this makes her an interesting fighter, using her source cards as kind of a commodity on there. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and a like. You can go down into the comments section and let me know what you think of it down there. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Make sure you catch all the videos that I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with Poindexter G, and we'll see you around next time.